Echo 3 follows the intense journey of Bambi and Prince, two highly skilled U.S. Special Force operators. They're actually U.S. Delta guys, as they embark on a perilous mission to rescue Amber Chesborough, who is both Bambi's sister and Prince's wife. Amber is a scientist with a background in humanitarian work, but she vanishes while conducting a research near the Colombian-Venezuelan border, a region fraught with political unrest and conflict. As the search for her unfolds, Bambi and Prince navigate treacherous jungles, face violent insurgents, and deal with the complexities of local politics. Meanwhile, their personal histories and emotional connections to Amber create a tense dynamic, revealing cracks in their own relationship. The mission becomes a test of loyalty, resilience, and morality, as the two men must confront the lengths that they are willing to go to save somebody that they love. The show's gripping narrative makes it both thrilling and emotional. Now, the creator of Echo 3 is Mark Bowl, and he blends his usual signature style of intense, action-driven storytelling with deeply emotional and personal themes, drawing on his experiences as a journalist and screenwriter known for exploring the human and psychological impacts of war. Some of his earlier projects include The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. In interviews, Bowl had mentioned that he was inspired by the idea of telling a story about family and loyalty within the context of a high-stakes rescue mission. He wanted to explore how personal relationships, like the bond between siblings and the tensions in a marriage, could influence and complicate a military operation. Bowl was also interested in showcasing a story set in a politically charged environment, using the lush and volatile backdrop of South America to highlight themes of power, conflict, and morality. Ultimately, he created Echo 3 as a way to merge his interest in geopolitical issues and human drama, creating a show that is both gripping and thought-provoking. And now, to tell you guys the truth, one of the main reasons that I wanted to watch Echo 3 a lot was because I've seen a lot of SEAL stuff, and I noticed a lot in the comments you guys talk about Delta Force operators or the unit, and so I wanted to kind of find something that had to do with Delta. And so I was watching a clip from the Sean Ryan show that somebody recommended down in the comments, and it was about Tyler Gray, who appears in SEAL Team, and he was asked, how does a Delta guy military advise for a SEAL Team show? And he said, it's funny because I have a buddy who's a SEAL and he's advising a Delta show called Echo 3. And from that moment, I looked up Echo 3. I found out that it was from Apple TV, and it seemed like a pretty good show. However, it only had one season available, and it came out in 2022. And so immediately you think that maybe the show got canceled or whatever, but I didn't want to jump into that. I decided to watch the show, and I thought it was pretty good. Now, I went in there thinking, like, from the shows that I've seen, I thought that it would actually have more action, more of the team of the Delta guys kind of being together and doing missions. But it wasn't so much that. The very first episode, you see a marriage happen, and then after that, they get a call to go do a mission, and a mission occurs where all the Delta guys are together, and they are just, doing their job. And it's intense. It's very well shot. It's beautiful to look at, and it's very well acted. And the unit commander for the team is played by Dominic Fumusa, who we would probably know from 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. So I thought that was a cool little thing. However, he only appears in like one episode, but I thought it was cool to see him there. And then some stuff unfolds. The team aspect kind of breaks away. And like we mentioned, Amber, who is the wife and the sister of two of the Delta guys, gets kidnapped. The search unfolds where the two have to go and find her. Now, I really will say this. If you're looking for high-pack action like you would see in SEAL Team, like every single episode, you're not going to get that with Echo 3. You're going to get some action for the first 8 episodes, mixed in with some very good acting, mixed in with some very good writing, mixed in with some deep character studies. Because I really thought that that's what the main show was about. The characters that are in this world and diving deep into them. The show is really shot like a movie, like a very long movie. And to kind of hit this point home, when the show begins, it's broken into parts. Part 1 is episode 1 to 3. Part 2 is episode 4 to 5. Part 3 is episode 6 to 7. And then the final part, which is 4, is episode 8 to 10. So the show has like mini arcs within those episodes, and they get resolved by the end of each part. And so something new begins in the beginning of the next part, so you tackle something different. And so I thought it was very neat and unique and very different. So it's a completely different type of show. Again, it's like a full movie. It's like a 10-hour movie that you just watch in continuation. And it's really good, to be honest. It built up towards something, and then it gave you that something. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I will quickly touch on something that I thought I wasn't going to like, because it was a lot of talking in the beginning, and it kind of of threw in some things that I wasn't huge fans of. I wasn't a huge fan of, and things that kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit. But I think the casting was so good that it made me really hate some of these characters. There's one character in particular that I will point out. Her name in the show was Graciela, and she is played by actress Maria del Rosario. And she did a good job portraying a rebel for Colombia who crossed the border into Venezuela, and she was working with the Venezuelan government, I think, and I really disliked her. I disliked her character. She pissed me off, and I really hated the character. For one reason or another, she made my blood boil, and there's one episode where something happens to her, and I will not lie to you, I was extremely happy with the end result of what happens to her character, and I usually don't feel that way, but I was very satisfied with it. I think Prince and Bambi, who are played by Michael Huseman and Luke Evans, they do a really good job playing the Delta guys. They kill it, to be honest, and everybody really kills it. Amber Chesborough, who is played by Jessica Ann Collins, who was the lady kidnapped, she did a very good job as well. Very deep, and the story really revolves around her psychological state as well. The villains in the story were pretty good. There's a lot of Spanish in the show. It's shot like in South America, so there's a lot of Spanish segments, but it's just a really good show overall. I think one of the strong suits is its writing. I enjoyed its writing throughout, and it being kind of a contained story in one season is pretty damn good. Mark Bowl said that he wanted this show to be multiple seasons, but the show came out in 2022. The final episode was January 2023, and it's kind of been quiet. It's nowhere has it been canceled, but nowhere has it been renewed like it's going to continue. So it's like in limbo, but I really would think that probably the show is over. I don't think there'll be a second season. I think if it ends with season 1, I think it told the story that it needed to tell, and I think I'm satisfied with that. Would I like to see Prince and Bambi come back for some other stuff? Yes, but I am satisfied with the show's ending. I'd also like to mention this for some of the maybe fans of the channel. My very first military review was on 6, and Juan Pablo Raba, who plays Buda Ortiz, makes an appearance in this show. Obviously as a different character, but the actor comes out playing a lawyer, and I thought it was pretty cool to see him in this. One of the final things that I'll touch up on here is episode 9, which was a freaking highlight for me. It's called A Scorched Earth, and this episode revolves around an extraction, and it felt like episode 1 through 8 worked its way up to episode 9, and it felt like episode 9 was the climax, the peak. And I kid you not, the episode is about 45 minutes long, and about 40 of those minutes are pure action. It's like a whole episode shot on an extraction. A team goes in to extract, and it's shot amazingly, and it's action through the entire episode, and I thought it was cool. And one of the biggest complaints that I was going to have about this show was that it was very minimal on action, but I think making it to episode 9 makes it worth it. In my opinion, it was a great episode, absolutely my favorite episode of the series. And episode 10 kind of brings it down a little bit, but then it rises again and it falls down. But the real highlight was episode 9. It worked towards that, and it finally got, and it delivered. So I really enjoyed that, and it's a highlight. It's called Scorched Earth, and if you freaking never want to watch the show, at least watch that episode from beginning to end, and you'll kind of understand already what's going on. Now, I think the biggest question that this show asks is, how far are you willing to go to save somebody that you love? Whether it's your sister, whether it's your wife, whether it's your brother, whether it's somebody that you truly love. Who are you willing to kill? Who are you willing to sacrifice? How many people are you willing to go through to save that one person? And I think it's a great question. Morally, I think it's an individual answer.